abductions by aliens, cow aliens. So let me pull this up, and then I have a real fucked up story on this that's been bugging me for a long time. Here you go. Let me play. Okay.
We found a dead bull, not one drop of blood,
And the scavengers won't eat it and it doesn't rot.
and I said, "What?"
Over the past 40 years, more than 10,000 animals have been killed in very strange ways.
The mammary glands, the udders, brain was gone. It's cored out like a just.
The mystery has overwhelmed law enforcement.
There's no evidence to point to one thing or another.
To go replicate that and not leave evidence, I don't think that would be possible.
People see helicopters, branches, think it could be bacteriological weapons testing.
Lots of speculation, aliens coming and taking our animals.
It's the greatest unsolved serial crime spree in history.
So we took up the case ourselves.
Tucker Carlson Originals, Cattle Mutilations, streaming August 11th.
Okay, so I have a real story on this, and it's fucked with me for years. This is 1994. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida, with Owen Sullivan, who went to O'Connell, and he can validate this story. We go out into a field, a farm field in Tallahassee. We jump, we're looking for shrooms in the middle of like 5 a.m. We have this grand idea. We're going to get mushrooms and pick them out of cow shit. Florida is a very flat state. There's no topography at all in Florida, and much less in Tallahassee.
Just giant holes.
So we jump over. The sun is now coming up, which is when the mushrooms grow. They grow quickly when the sun's up. So it's probably 6:30, 7 in the morning, fully bright. I don't know. We're fucked up. There's a slight rolling hill, meaning like it's 15 degrees higher, 15 feet higher than the lowest part of the field. So it's not, it's a flat field. So I come up this field and there's a fucking cow, full-blown cow, like not a calf. And it's a cow is a very large animal. It is cut off at the fucking shoulders, like from head to head. It just clean cut, like a chainsaw cut it. Fresh, like complete red blood. And Owen's walking around the cow looking for mushrooms. And I go, Owen, do you fucking see that? He's like, yeah. I was like, let's get the fuck out of here. The head is nowhere to be seen. You can see in all directions, 150, 300, 400 yards this way, 150 yards. The head, it's not just the head, it's the head and shoulders. There was no blood on the ground. It was just a freshly sawed off carcass with no blood, and the head is fucking gone. And it was clearly just done. There was no coagulation. It was still sitting there. And he goes, and I go, let's get the fuck out of here. Whatever that is, that just happened. And there was it never made sense. It never made sense.
Well, the simplest explanation is most always the best one. And I would say, listen, either A, you saw something that's hitherto unknown to our conception of what's possible, or either you were fucked up and misread what you said, you think you saw, or you're being willfully dishonest.
We had never taken mushrooms. And I have texts from him that I'll show you.
What I'm saying about your story is this: that a rational person has to weed out either you misread what you saw, maybe you're lying,
not lying. I can show you.
I mean, again, a reasonable person has to think about that. Or we saw a circumstance that's hitherto unknown to all human science and everything, and you alone saw it. That's what you're asking when you tell
I'm not saying I alone saw it, because clearly this has been happening forever. I haven't told the story, is from 1994, but I can show you this. This is I'm pulling it up because I sent him this a little bit ago. I actually reached out to and he responded. So I talked to him about that thing. I'm trying to find the actual text so I can pull it up. But he goes, yeah, man, I tell that story all the time. Yeah, shit was fucked up. Was the head missing? So yeah, here you go. All right. So I got this story. Let me text it to myself and then I can pull it up and share it with you so you can see. He was
Yeah, but
fucked.
what do you believe was the cause of that?
I don't know. At the time it happened, I thought that we had just been around maybe a cult offering. Like I thought that maybe like a religious cult had cut the head off of a cattle, maybe at like 3, 4 in the morning, sawed it off and ran with it as like a part of a ritual or a trophy. That's what I thought this was.
Hey, Jimmy,
And I could
I would
never
ask you, Jimmy,
where the actual
did you
head
see
was.
that cow's head get cut off? I'm sorry, man. I stepped over you there. Did you see that cow's head be cut off on Apocalypse Now? If you watch the extended edition, you see the oxen being beheaded.
I hated it. I hated it.
It's tough to look at, but that's that's the reality. But you saw it. So when Eric, as you tell the story about how you saw it, did it look like that to you? The way it was a clean,
It was a clean
right down the
cut,
middle?
but there was no blood. So can you see,
Listen.
can you see the screen?
That's everything. There's no
Yeah.
blood means
So so I said, do you remember do you remember the decapitated cow while picking mushrooms and tell? He goes, I tell that story several times a year. Is this beans?
Mhm.
Fuck yes. I go, who else could it be? Shit was fucked up. Was the head missing? Yeah, it was fucking missing. It was completely missing. Of course, he was fucked up at that time. He was, doing a lot of drinking, but yeah, it was gone. And we're in a field in Florida, it's flat everywhere you look. It was a head torso off of a massive cow was gone. So when I saw that Tucker Carlson thing, I'd never been like, oh, it's aliens. But I looked at that cow. I'm like, that's a freshly decapitated cow with no blood, and the head and fucking shoulders are missing. Like, what the fuck is that? I thought it was like a weird, and the first thing it said is, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, that is, whatever it is, whatever happened with that, whatever people at the time, I'm like, people did this. I don't want to be here when they come back.
I get it. It's
out.
crazy, but then there's no craziness that humans do that surprises me anymore. Maybe that's because I'm jaded. I mean, somebody might say I'm young at 51, but at 51,
The blood.
there's nothing that surprises me.
How did they get the blood from going out? And that's a big head and shoulders of an animal. Why would they cut it and not take the steaks? And literally, it's an open, clean, like it was cut with a samurai sword, multiple 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 pound animal, and with no blood there, but fresh blood on the, like no coagulation at all. It was bright red. And I'm like,
Listen, I'm
what
sure
the-
there's a explanation that's it happened. If you say it happened, it happened.
Oh, it
Something
happened.
made it happen. So we don't know what it is. It's probably something more mundane than we think.
And Sandro, you don't think there's any chance it could be aliens?
Well, I'd never
No.
thought of aliens.
Don't fucking look at me like that. Tell me.
I'd never thought about.
I'm telling you no, because I always say if aliens were visiting us, they'd have no fear of us because they'd be more advanced than us. So
You don't
that's
know
why
that.
I rule
You
out
don't
aliens.
know that.
You don't know that.
Then you think they're sneaking here? Let me tell you something about the aliens.
You
I do
think-
believe in aliens.
You
That's
got a
Here, I'm
lot
gonna
of
break some
balls.
news.
dumbest answer I've ever heard. If you right now are in a fucking helicopter and you fly into a bunch of people that are 4,000, 8,000, 10,000 year olds versions of humans. So maybe you were just in a further advanced part of society. You're in a helicopter. They've never seen a helicopter. You're going to have no fear of all those fucking monkey people down there. You're just
No.
gonna land.
Let me
Like,
tell you something. Before
No,
you
that's
even go any
not
further,
ridiculous.
you asked me, do I believe in aliens? I assume that to mean, do I believe in from outer space? I'm going to tell you, I do believe that there is something out there that we're not quite sure of.
Of course.
I am convinced that they're coming from under the sea. Now, you can laugh about that. The only other person I ever say that, it's like I tell my wife that I believe they're from under the sea. We know less about it than we do about anything else. If you all have seen this movie, again, stupid, James Cameron, this movie, The Abyss, but he touched on great points. That the fact that the sea is more vast than anything we know. We know that if we're seeing crafts, it's almost impossible they could break out into the universe and reach the kind of speeds to jump galaxies. But why couldn't they go under the sea and remain undetected by us? They could see us coming from 1,000 miles away.
Listen, there's a lot of sea we don't know about. And there's an underworld we don't know about. There is. There's a lot of people that have center Earth theories, like Middle Earth theory, that there's entire worlds underneath levels of
That's
crust.
all bullshit.
How do you know that you're how do you know that's bullshit? Oh,
What I'm saying, because it doesn't, I'm looking at things that make sense that could possibly happen. The idea, we know the Earth's core is
You
is a
don't understand
molten
it, so it's
level.
bullshit.
yeah, you have
No,
a,
no,
you have
no, no, no,
unhealthy
no. That's
natural.
wrong. That is wrong for you to say that, man.
Open
It's just
your
because I don't
mind,
understand
man.
it.
You don't,
We understand that that the Earth's core is a superheated core. So that doesn't common sense tell you that people couldn't live there?
No,
What are
because
you talking-
there's a
I
lot of
forgot what we were even talking about.
well, there are like actual it doesn't have to be at the molten level. It could be.
I understand
above the
there
molten
are
level.
crustaceans that live at the mouths of the most superheated volcanoes. I get all that, and I hear that. I'm not trying to dispute you guys on that. What I'm saying is that it's more likely to me that there are beings that we don't understand. It's more likely that they are coming from our own Earth, from the deep ocean that we have not explored, than it is that from outer space, because from
Why
outer
would-
space, we'd probably have seen them.
Why would you mathematically what you just said doesn't make sense because mathematically outer space is infinity. Here on Earth, it's very finite. So why would it be more likely that something comes from finite as opposed to infinity? Like mathematically.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell
Yeah.
you why. Because if these things that we're seeing come around, if they were coming from outer space, we would know it. We would see them coming. We have satellites all over the
Dude, we
space
see-
around us.
We see it everywhere. Like there's a billion different unidentified flying objects.
If they
there
could
are
make it
pilots
here,
that- there are
then
pilots that-
if they were an
doesn't-
advanced civilization, though, if they were an advanced civilization, they would have no problem just coming down and dominating us. Just
Why-
as
why
the
do you-
Spaniards
why do you keep saying
came.
that? Why do you keep saying that when you use the example of you on a helicopter with superior technology going into a multiple 1,000-year-old tribe of millions of people that don't know you, that you don't know, and you said you would not land that helicopter. So why do you assume that they have technology that's just going to infinitely render all of us dead? They might
No,
just
but they would come down and they would
might have-
want to make studies and such.
that's what this Tucker Carlson original is saying, is that they're grabbing cows and doing stuff, and a lot of people have said they've grabbed people and done individual studies. They might not have weapons to wipe everything out. They might.
All those studies you talk about always winds up with some guy getting a finger in his ass. That's
They
the
may
reason why I
have a
don't trust
protein
those fucking.
deficiency.
But look,
Everybody's been probed by an alien. If
so
I
there-
was come from a superior technology, I wouldn't come down to destroy, but I would certainly come down and say, "Listen, I am your superior. Hey, people, I come to bring technology to you. I do
Maybe
not
they have a
fear you. I
protein
don't have to hide
deficiency.
behind. I don't have to hide behind clouds.
well, I'm not opposed.
Protein
to your-
deficient. Well, they might want to eat us all.
They found an inner ocean within the ocean.
So they're starting with the cows.
They found an inner ocean within the oceans, within our Earth's crust. There is a chance that there are absolutely alien creatures. I mean, if you look at an octopus, it's a fucking alien. If you see what an
It's
octopus,
an amazing creature.
It's-
You're preaching to choir. I'm fascinated,
Yeah.
endlessly fascinated about
No.
octopus.
there's seahorses, all this stuff. These are alien. Even crustaceans or lobsters and stuff are aliens. These are aliens.
They're
Hey,
delicious.
Sandro, keep your right hand up. I'm telling you.
But
Why?
no, there's no but. It could, Sandra's theory is right, but the fact that he's saying it's more likely to come from Earth than it is from infinity is mathematically just doesn't make any sense. Infinity
Okay,
is
I'll grant you that. I'll grant you that. But
Yeah.
I'm saying for what we can understand, granted, infinity goes,
Yeah.
it's infinity. I get it. There's any number of combinations that can happen, but based on what we can understand and what we know of science and what we know of the world,
we
I
don't
think it's
know.
more likely. I think
mean,
it's more
we don't
likely
know.
that there
We
are
don't know.
beings that live in the deep blue sea. We don't know a lot. I think this is more likely than that we're being visited from extraterrestrial beings, because I don't believe those people would have to hide themselves. I believe that someone coming out of the sea would hide themselves. They would have to. They would come out secretly. I know it's crazy. It's all right though.
No, it's not crazy, but it's a theory, right? But what we're seeing right now, and military pilots and other things are seeing things that don't make sense under our understanding of current physics. So they're seeing
And they disappear under the horizon.
no, they're tracking them off of San Diego coast daily. They've been tracking these things daily off San
They're
Diego,
going under the water.
going under the water.
We'll see.
Things that we're not capable of, but they're tic tacs under the
They're
water.
going under the water faster than we can comprehend when they go down thousands of meters below the surface in a rapid descent, something that we can't comprehend.
Nothing that we can comprehend. So it's absolutely possible. I'm not discounting that it's possible. But as far as you say, our scientific understanding is dick. We don't know shit about shit. Everything we think we know about physics is wrong. We can't even understand how these aircraft that we're witnessing are physically doing what they have done because it
I don't
escaped.
believe that. We have great
Einstein's-
understanding of what we
We
have
don't.
established. But
we-
yes, there's way more.
Human
to-
beings are only three-dimensional anyway. There's 12 different dimensions. There's math in each dimension we haven't even touched on. Human beings probably know one infinite billionth of what exists. We don't know dick, which is funny about us because right now you don't know shit about you. Like dead serious. If I were to say how many cells are in your body right now, you wouldn't know. How many?
Six.
Yes.
I already know.
How many dendritic connections are in your own brain? You'd be like, fuck, I don't know. You know what I mean?
4.
We don't know shit about our own selves, if physically, biologically, or how many hairs are in your head.
Listen, it's the great curse of some people. I look at myself and I'm able to understand myself enough to know that I'm a fucking idiot. And that's like that sucks as a human being. Like I have enough self-awareness to understand that.
That's why I love fighting about
Fucking
shit that I
idiot.
really don't care about because I know I'm wrong. I know everybody's wrong.
Gives a
fun.
You know
shit.
what I love?
None of us know
about
nothing.
Beans?
Anything.
I just realized it's ironic because that Beans hates baseball because
I
when
don't
you start,
I like fighting about it and telling you I hate it. I don't really hate it. I don't like fucking with you because you like it. I don't watch it with my time because there's other things. I don't hate the sport. If you and I got together and we went to Wrigley Field, I'd be fucking thrilled to watch. Or
of
even
course you would, anybody would. But my point is, you have a very baseball announcer cadence when you start just nailing people with facts.
oh, yeah, yeah.
You know,
He
you sound
he had
as much as
430.
you don't want to listen to those guys, you fucking sound exactly like them.
His on-base percentage last year was 0.51.
Yeah.
He went
That
0
aside, blah blah
oh,
blah
for-
blah blah.
He went 0 for 12 against lefties in the last 8 games, but last year he hit 214 against left-handers. So let's see if we can get that regression. You can sleep to those people. They can put you right to bed. I'll tell you what made me kind of go the other way on baseball. I don't watch it. Of course, you can't commit to that many games. My father refuses to get the hint. So every time I talk to him, he doesn't want to talk about anything real. Anything real he wants to run away from. He just had surgery today, by the way. Hope he's doing better. But he'll
Best
go.
wishes to him.
He'll go. Thank you. But he'll go. So the Nats today are running out Zimmerman. Zimmerman third base is leading off, and I'm going, Dad, I haven't watched a single game. I don't care. I go, it's the 6th
Yeah, who
game.
the fuck are you even talking about?
The 6th game of the season. And he's like, yeah, the Nets didn't do well the last 2 games. They lost 2 in a row. I'm like, it's game 6. I don't care. And he's retired, so he has nothing else to do. And he waterboards, and this is not just a 1-season thing. He waterboards me from the beginning of the season till the end of the season. And at playoff time, I go, look, if they're in the playoffs, I will fucking talk to you about every game. Or if they're in the hunt in October, I'm in. I want to hear that. But don't come talking to me about spring ball fucking, don't give me the shit for fucking 180 games. I can't.
Eric,
can't-
how old is he?
Yeah.
How old
He's
is
74 years old. Yeah. So that's all.
he?
Yeah.
He's 30 years older than me, and I'm already doing that shit to my poor kids.
I'm like,
Let me tell
Fucking
you.
every day with the baseball, the baseball, the baseball. Angelo tries to be a good guy and talk about it. Sonny tries to be a good guy, but I know they're just gonna be like, fuck, dad's calling again, man.
about baseball.
Mhm.
And
About baseball.
it's not an exciting topic. There's
It's the best. It's the best.
It's America's pastime.
It's
What?
the
I'm
best to talk about
I'm
with your
putting you in
sons.
touch with my father. You can be his. So Pete West was my father's son. Every time they get together, they're the exact same person. I'm putting you in touch with them for
I'm telling you, man, to have that with your sons and to talk about it is just priceless.
Yeah, it's priceless. It's worth nothing.
You'll fucking find out. You'll find
Can I
out.
tell you? Can I tell you guys a baseball story
Go
real
for it.
quick? I've never been a baseball fan
Yeah.
for throughout my life. Just peripherally, I'm the guy who watches the big games or whatever. So if the World Series is on and it's in the news because
Sandro was scared
it's
of the
exciting.
ball.
Yeah, pretty much. No, but like I remember when was it the Cubs that won a couple years back? I'm going back a few years and it was a huge thing. They won it for the first time in
Yeah,
fucking
and
forever.
after that guy had stolen the ball off of the foul tip and become the worst
Well,
riot in Chicago history, they
I
finally
just
they did. Yes, I remember.
not to bring another tragedy in, but it was the death in the family that for whatever reason my mother and I
Which
wound
one?
up. I forget which one it was, but my mother and I we were staying in a hotel because the funeral was the next morning, and that the final game of that was on. And the reason I'm telling the story is because it was probably the most exciting 15 minutes. I sat there with my mother, who's obviously an older woman, who never gave a shit about sports of any sort, let alone baseball. And we sat there at the edge of the bed, and we were sitting in his hotel room and looking at that, and we were just riveted. And to watching a major league pitcher in this kind of moment of truth, it truly is. I'm a boxing lover, as I know you guys are, but this is one of those moments in sports that's fucking amazing. Like it was a very powerful moment, and baseball can do that when at the highest level.
It was an amazing series, and when I watched the Nats win, it was the first time I'd watched baseball in a while, and I watched how they brought new technology into the game.
So you can see, yeah.
And I went, holy shit, that would be amazing in boxing. Imagine in between rounds, instead of just showing a couple of highlights, actually showing highlights with the speed and the impact, with a coloring of this is how hard the punch was. This is how fast
Technology gets better all the time. Definitely.
But in baseball, they're showing the movement, of the pitch. They're showing the speed of the pitch, where the pitch goes. Imagine applying that to punches in between rounds while they're explaining, while the announcers are explaining, so you can see how hard these fucking punches are hitting. How cool that would be to a watcher, not during the actual action.
So for this topic, but listen,
Yeah.
it's the different, your bitch is it's so slow, but it's the speed of the, it's the speed of the sport that allows them.
No. Dude, baseball speed of the sport. They have more old school people than boxing. They've got all the arguments you're going to make. The baseball people have already made it before you, and now it's better. It's a better production.
I know, but
Yeah.
listen,
Go for it.
but baseball is, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say now. You fucked me up.
Go ahead. You were going to say that baseball is different than boxing because the speed.
Because of the speed. Because
there's very little time between rounds.
You have time. You have time in between pitches to go to the viewer and say, look at this, 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 and this. In the middle of the rounds, you got 1 minute to explain something a little bit more complicated. I don't think it catches on in boxing because of that. It catches on in baseball because there's time to present it.
Well, in 1 minute, if the producers have their shit together and everything, they can tag the biggest shots. They can show 2 or 3 punches just the way they do now. They already show those punches. and then just have even in the corner, they don't need to have some big red swoop on it. They could say
Yeah.
this punch went this mile per hour with a left, landed with this impact. And people, with a little graph just for people to go, wow, that's fucking cool. The slow-mo that goes to the jaw. This
But wait a minute, then you'd have to, then you'd have to sacrifice the translator.
well, top left. You put the little translator. By the way, they should
That's
have,
that's always riveting, and I'm sure it's exactly what he says.
yeah, by the way, they should have the translator actually be a trans deaf person so that you don't have,
I remember my favorite translation
Yeah.
came out as this:
yeah,
"That black guy sure can punch."
fucking fantastic.
I remember when
Which one?
Roberto Duran fought a guy called Paul Thorne, like on ESPN night fights way back in the day, and it was late in Duran's career. But he won it on a stoppage because the guy's lip was split. Duran split it with one of them classic Duran right hand counter punches, even though he had a pot belly. But the guy's lip was open. But when the announcer said to him, he says, "What do you think about the stoppage?" And Duran said, he said it, and then Luis de Cubas, you know the name, Jimmy, certainly. Luis de Cubas was always around with fighters and shit, and he said, "Oh yes, Duran says the fight should have been stopped because in another minute the lip would have been on his chest." And that was the exact translation. But I just remember laughing at that.
Well,
Yeah,
he's
the
a
lip would
pro.
have been in his chest.
He's a pro.
Oh man, yeah. He was around back in the day.
That's right.
What do we have for boxing this weekend?
Well, I tell you what, this weekend coming up right now, it's not a whole lot. We have to wait another week for the big Caleb Plant and David Benavidez fight. But the past weekend, we got a zoo. I was just getting there. You got to talk about the zoo, the possible dynasty. Not just obviously Kostya Zoo, but his son Tim has done fantastic, obviously, and even the boy Nikita, they're saying, is pretty fucking phenomenal too. He's 5-0, fought on the undercard.
Tim looks so good, man. The way he hangs in the pocket and so comfortable in firing range. I mean, he looks fantastic. I mean, he's a superior boxer. You could easily fall under your father's shadow when your father is a bit of a legend, and Tim looks like he might be better than his dad. I mean,
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think I see similarities between him and his father.
I said might, but he's better in the
But
pocket.
he also shows me the same weakness that, and Jimmy will know what I'm talking about. When cool Vince Phillips exploited Kostya Zoo's weakness with
Yeah,
that
he puts
overhand
his
right
chin in
again and
the air.
again.
He puts
Right.
his chin in the
He's
air.
very robotic. He's there when somebody finds a rhythm on you. He doesn't get out of the way.
Seems like he's got a little bit more. I don't know. He seems like personally, as a person, he's got a little more on the ball. You know what I mean? He seems like
He's got a chip on his shoulder.
I think he's got a chip on his
He's got
shoulder.
an
and
attitude
I
to
think
show he's
got
better than his dad.
a lot more star quality. I think he's got a lot more
Right.
ability to become a superstar than Kostya Zoo did.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Great performance overall.
He could fight, but nobody cared about it. I mean, he was, not colorful at all.
Right.
This win really put Tim Zoo on the map. I mean, I think everybody watched that. There's nobody watched that said, damn, that wasn't a great performance against an older fighter, but a very, very well-known,
Motivated, good fighter.
Yeah. And it's a great win, and I'm excited to see what's next, because I think at this point, we're looking at a Charlo fight coming up, and that becomes a very compelling fight. I quite frankly.
Well, think about it for a second. Charlo Zoo. If they were to fight, which looks like it's going to be the next fight, obviously, that's very much reminiscent of the Zab Judah and his father. If you think about it, like you got this very flashy, hard punching guy, going up against him, and he's going to time him out. There are parallels there. It's kind of interesting.
There are. Yeah, that's a really, really good historical rhyming metaphor for what's coming up. I'm excited, man. That's a good it's always nice to have somebody else on the radar where you go, holy shit, let's see what they do next. And that's what
Yeah.
we have, and it gets you excited for the next one. So I'm excited for the next one. That it was that type of performance, and that's good for boxing. Anybody who watched
Listen,
that,
Australian boxing has been on fire in the last couple of years. If you
Right.
think about it, I mean, granted, you can look and say, oh, well, they lost this and that. But look at between Cambosos, Horn, these
Yeah.
guys captured titles. I mean, they're coming out. Granted, Australia's a big place area wise, but it's not a big place people wise. I mean, the fact that they're putting out some really top notch, world class fighters on the regular is impressive. And then Zoo looks like he may well go on to be their greatest champion at this point. He was born on their soil, unlike his father.
the biggest, by the way, this is a little bit of a tangent, big tangent, but Australia, the biggest story I can remember over the last 30 years that really shocked me and surprised me was Steve Irwin dying from a fucking stingray. It still freaks me out.
Cracky,
What?
he's got me by the didgeridoo.
I was watching a crocodile hunter with my son, completely.
It's the way you would want to go.
But
We're not doing what he loves.
I think you guys are missing what I'm saying. The guy was literally dealing with like 2,500-pound crocodiles on the daily, jumping with them, sitting in front of them, and feeding them chickens where they're lurching out doing the death thing.
Yeah, with his kid next to him too.
Hitting him in the foot, like ripping, like he got his foot ripped up by crocodile. He was trapping rogue snakes, poisonous, the most poisonous snake, licking his face and going down, and he died from a fucking stingray. It still blows my
It happens.
Hey, man, the
And
most
people that
dangerous
I've been
part.
swimming with a million times in Florida, they swim all over Tampa. That's why they call it the Rays. They're everywhere down here. He got taken
I
out by
know.
an animal nobody gives a shit about. It'd be like getting taken out by, like, I don't know, a porpoise. Like after years of it's like not
The most dangerous part of the SEAL mission is getting back onto the helicopter.
Getting back,
The end of the thing, when you let your guard down.
stuff, but the
Listen,
fact got
y'all
taken-
know I hate pit bulls, right?
Yeah.
You
What'd
know
you
I
say?
hate pit bulls. But
You
I tell
shouldn't
you what,
be
people
ignorant.
always point out to me and say, hey, listen, horses kill more men a year than pit bulls. And if you stop and think about it, yeah, you can look that up. Yeah, horses and cows kill more men per year, like far more than any sharks or alligators or anything.
Oh, Jesus, here we go with pit bulls. Go ahead.
You heard what I said. I'm not talking about pit bulls. I said that
Go
I
ahead.
just acknowledged to you that cows and horses kill more men per year than most other animals.
But there's a but coming up.
It's not a but. That's the way it is. If you work around large animals, your likelihood of being killed increases. Just like if you work in the fucking coal mines or if you work on top of buildings, your
The fuck
likelihood of
does that
death
have to do with
increases.
it?
What I'm saying is,
What are you saying?
what does that have to do with it?
The pit bulls are on top of coal mines.
The pit bull's an aside. What I'm trying to tell you is working
There's
around
a lot
large
more
animals.
cows and horses as there is pit bulls.
They're going to put pit bulls around cows and horses to mine the coal mines, and then everything's going to be fine because the pit bulls.
Actually, pit bulls kill horses and cows often.
Well, fuck, the aliens will just
Often.
abduct them all.
What does the word often mean?
Like on a regular basis, a daily basis.
Da-
And by
da-
the way, you talking about the aliens, Kimmy? I said they're under the sea. Just
how do
remember
you
that.
know the sea alien didn't come cut that cow's head off that I fucking I can't account for. It literally, think about this. This is 1993 or 4 in Tallahassee, and it's been fucking with me. Like, I've never ever been able to figure out where the hell that head went and why there was no blood. It was always
I
amazing.
have no reason to doubt your sincerity, but
No,
I'm
it happened.
more likely to think that you're mistaken.
No, there were two people there that both saw the same thing. It
Could
was
all been mistaken.
no. Nobody was mistaken. And by the way,
If the alternative is more preposterous than the possible conclusion, we got to think
by the
about
way,
it.
I have never been a blackout person ever in my life. I've never been a person who gets so fucked up they can't remember. I've never had a moment of not remembering anything ever from alcohol, ever. Like I'm Irish German. We're built for this shit. That's what we do. That's literally what we're built for. There were two of us that saw the same thing. And he's been telling the story for years, and I have too. It was bizarre. I don't know where it went. And by the way, there might be a very real explanation. It might just been a colt,
Right.
like a colt. They might have chainsawed it
Could have
off.
been that.
Could have had a little bit of a tarp below it to capture the blood for a separate ritual. You know, it
It's
carried
more logical to suspect that it was something within the realm of what we know than it is to say that it could be something
I'm
unexplained.
not sitting here saying it's an alien thing. I'm saying it happened, and I don't know how, and I don't know why, and it was fucking bizarre. So when I saw that Tucker Carlson thing that this has been happening to cows all over the country, I'm like, huh? Like, does this qualify? Like, it's fucking,
Never underestimate
yeah.
the lengths that bored farmers will go to fuck with people. We've
Oh,
all seen it with the we've seen it with the crop circles. We know exactly how they make those stupid things. They do it all the time. It's a pastime now. The bored farmers do weird shit sometimes. You know, I've seen
Pretty
people
sure-
who
I'm
build
sure.
skeleton bones into a giant mythical beast because they're just out there in their fields all the time.
I'm pretty sure that an animal that's worth thousands of dollars to them, they would, if they were to be bored and say, let's cut the head off, they
They
would
wouldn't kill it, but if it,
they would at least take the meat off of it because it's worth a lot of money. You know what I mean? The farmers themselves certainly respect the animals. They feed them. This was not a bored farmer. If it were, it was a very bad business person farmer that's clearly out of business and was losing their mind. But either way, I'm putting that as the least likely explanation for what happened.
it's
Is
either that or these two schlubs
Oh,
who happened upon there misidentified what they saw.
that would be-
I have to weigh
Well-
which one might be more correct.
well, how about it did happen and we don't know what happened? That how about instead of
That's
two
fair
people
enough. Fair enough.
corroborate that this
We don't know
thing
what happened.
did happen. We don't know what happened, as opposed to, oh, my eyes deceived me, and his eyes also deceived him for
Maybe the sun was
exact
bright.
same thing.
Y'all were looking at a side of beef jerky and you basically both looked at it and said, oh, snap.
Let me tell you
Look at
something.
that.
You see a carcass cut in half, that is a gaping wound that is massive. Massive, bigger than my arms could ever be, like 3 of my arms around. You do not mistake that as an accident. And it wasn't chewed, it was sawed. And this is like flat sawed. And there was no fucking blood, but the blood was flesh in the end.
Listen, if you said maybe a military laser could have
I don't think so.
made it such a cut.
You know, my thought at the time was dead serious. Somebody had chainsawed it and you know, and maybe either gathered it in a, like while they were chainsawing it, they were like, let me put down a tarp, chainsaw this thing down, grab the head and run away with the head to mount it or do whatever with it. That was my thought, is okay, maybe it was a cult thing in the middle of the night, maybe drunk people.
Maybe if you didn't see any spatter, anybody with a saw or some shit, you would have seen blood spot,
Well, no, I wasn't.
tossed about.
This had
Yeah.
happened. This had happened within the last few hours, but I was obviously did not come across people sawing it. I'm just saying there was no big pool of blood. And
But it wouldn't have been fresh blood, even if it was a few hours. That's what's so puzzling.
you would have seen the.
I'm not gonna say you're full of shit, but
Well,
what
I'm
I'm gonna say,
not full of shit.
I'm gonna assume you're not. So my next assumption
why
must
would-
be
why
that
would
you
say
missed.
I assume you not. I already
because-
showed you somebody else saw it. But like I'm telling you what.
Right.
What I
Telling
don't
you,
even
but
know why
here's
you're
how
going to that full of shit. Have a corroborated.
Well, I'm ruling that out.
Yeah.
Saying
It-
it for effect, but
Now-
ruling it out.
Now
I'm assuming
yeah,
you're not full of shit.
Well, it's more an assumption. I've shown you somebody else was there and corroborates the story. Now
But
it
two
comes
people
to
can be wrong. Two people can be wrong at the same
not-
time.
something like that while you're alone on a field. It's not like
It's not
like a
unheard
bank,
of,
it's
Eric.
not like a bank robber comes in. And you're like, well, we both saw him wearing blue.
It's not
We're on a
unheard of.
fucking field
We-
alone with a
Look
carpet.
up the sun danced at Fatima. Look up the
I
Salem witch
understand.
trials.
I
Pe-
understand.
People
how
have
no. This is
it's
a
not
dead
uncommon.
This is two people seeing an animal without a head. Really, it's not a high stress situation. It's not a
Two people
robbery.
is not enough of a control
not-
group to decide that this is
Oh.
factual.
Oh, fuck up. Two people in a robbery situation that's high stress, you could say they're gonna fuck that up. This is two people chilling and picking mushrooms in a morning
You,
light.
you understand, Jimmy, please back
Wait,
me up.
no,
He's
there
sitting
was
there.
no-
This is me and my buddy chilling, eating mushrooms in a
we
cow
weren't
patty. And
picking.
suddenly we saw a
Hold on,
cow
hold on.
chopped in half
That's,
with no
that
blood.
was my
No,
first
You didn't-
instinct.
No, hold on. We had not eaten. We were picking mushrooms. We had not eaten.
Okay,
a
Tell
single
that to the sheriff, bro.
So
We were just picking mushrooms.
hold on,
Oh, you
you're-
weren't eating anything? Get the fuck in that cell, boy.
No, you
Open
don't.
your mouth
you don't-
again and I'll
You don't eat
Give me that.
mushrooms out of cow shit, dickhead. You go pick them. And when you're in fucking college, you don't know what mushrooms are right. You pick them all. We had them in a McDonald's bag to take them back to people who know which ones are poison or not, because a lot of these fucking mushrooms may kill you. So no, we're not eating mushrooms. We're grabbing them for people who know which mushrooms are good and bad, because a lot of the cow patties are so flat in the actual earth, they have grass growing out of them. You can't tell where the cow patty is. It's not like it's a big fresh thing of shit with beautiful mushrooms coming out that you can't mistake. You're
No, they're
picking
little,
every
they're little
mushroom,
bugs. I know what they look like.
every mushroom on a field and hoping you're right. You're not grabbing it going, let me take this mushroom out of cow shit.
But if the local sheriff walks up on you and you say, "Oh, the cow was sliced in half,"
Dude,
he's gonna look at y'all and say, "Boys, get in the back of that car. You
all right, it
fuckers.
happened.
Fuck out of here."
There wa- and there was no rush. It's two people with an opportunity to stare at the same thing with no rush, with no stress for an extended period of time. It's not like, oh,
Hey,
Robert came in,
let-
he was
let me
wearing a
ask you
red
this.
bandana. Oh, he was wearing a blue bandana. No, we
How
were
far,
sitting there for
how
fucking
far
10
was this place from your apartment or wherever you
Dude,
were
it
living?
was in Tallahassee. I wasn't living there. We were in Tallahassee, Florida, visiting on a college trip, and said, hey, let's jump this fence into a farm and pick mushrooms in the morning. Let's get
Yeah.
mushrooms for that night. So we
That's
waited
weird,
till the
man.
morning, jumped the fucking fence in the morning, and
Jimmy,
a decapitated cow was there. I am not making it up.
Jimmy,
We
did you
did
listen to the same story I just listened to? Me and some
excuse
friends
me.
from college went looking for mushrooms among the cow patties, and we saw a cow.
I'm pretty sure every fucking story that you have is just, hey, listen, let me corroborate that story. The guy that you tried to stab at the pet company, yeah, that didn't happen. That's
I never
bullshit.
start.
Nobody.
I never start the story with.
It can happen. You're
First,
just a
I,
mentally ill.
I saw the crack, and
Mentally
then it
ill.
went at a fight.
No, you are a mentally ill fuck. You need to prove it. Who else was there? Oh, the girl was there. Oh, she saw it too. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. By the way, that's under stress and under duress.
You're like,
Both your
man, me
stories-
and my friend, officer,
Wait,
listen here. Me and my friends were
Wait.
searching for
No,
mushrooms.
I didn't sit
We were
there
out in the middle of the
threatening
night. We were looking after
guy
cow
who pulled a
patties. And
fucking
we came
knife
across
on a
we came
ledge
across a cow
going, hey,
sliced
man,
in half like
I'm gonna
roast
get
beef,
you, man.
like
I'm
a
gonna get
brisket, man. They cut him. It was like a
I'm gonna get
brisket
you
laying
with
out there in the
my
field.
hand.
All we were doing was
Guy's
looking for
gonna
mushrooms
attack
to eat.
me.
How could this have happened?
And I said, you know what, man? I'm gonna cut you if you come close to me. If my turtle's gonna don't get away with my turtle food, man. I'll fucking kill you. I'll fucking cut you, man. That's what I said. And then I went, and the girl was there, and she's like, oh yeah, good job. Yeah, we'll put her on the fucking podcast. Let's get her. We'll pay her $4.
There ain't no way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Man.
Way to go,
yeah.
Spider.
Yeah, dickhead. Yeah, I literally
Man,
showed
we
you
were
fucking
looking for those peyote
corroborating-
buds, man. We were searching
corroborating-
every cow. We left no cow patty unturned,
I know, by
man.
the way, the
We were
guy-
looking for it.
The guy who
Come
the
to find
guy-
out, we found a big ass side of beef
The
cut down
guy-
the middle. No blood splatter. We just saw it though.
the guy I
We saw
showed
it
you
there.
text
Oh,
from, he runs about $150 million projects for one of the largest integration companies in the country. He's not some piece of shit slouch. He's actually really fucking smart. So yeah, it's
I
not.
hear
Yeah, he's not some low grade loser that travels around watching the dead. You know, he's
Hey.
actually got his shit together and runs. He's a big timer for a big time company.
I'll tell you something about the dead too, by the way.
Yeah,
You know what? I'm of one of the last generations that still hitchhike. You remember hitchhiking? I don't know. You guys might have missed that boat because
I
in
remember
the
picking up a
'70s there was
hitchhiker.
a whole thing of stranger danger became. But I was one of the last kids though. Yeah, we hitchhiked to go to concerts, man. Go to New York all the time.
Do you know that actually happened to my mother's babysitter?
What, she hitchhiked or what?
No, they
killed?
picked up, her and her boyfriend picked up a hitchhiker and he killed him.
Yeah,
Dude.
I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer, his first murder was a hitchhiker.
Yeah, but it was a common thing. I was at the tail end of it, but yeah, in the '70s, early '80s and stuff, it was a common thing. That's how we got to places in the early '80s. If there was a show going on in New York, we already had the tickets. We just got to get there. And yeah, you hitchhiked. You got in a car. Give us some money for gas, smoke a joint, whatever. That was kind of the way of it.
I
That's-
hitchhiked one
You sound like the old man. You
time.
sound like the old man.
It
Everywhere
died
they
out
went, they
during my
hitchhiked.
time too. Yeah, it died out around that time. But yeah, there was a stretch of time in my young teenhood where it was still kind of that's what you did if you wanted to go somewhere.
We would pick them up all the time. All the time.
Really? Like I would never even dream of. Actually, that's not true. We picked up in Ocean City, Maryland. We picked up this guy who needed a ride, and it was like all the O'Connell crew, and the guy was fucking weird. He got really weird in the front seat. I actually pulled out a knife and held it behind his neck in case he got really squirrely. Yeah. I was with Ilias, Kanakis, and all those guys. It was just a quick ride. We got him out of the car as quickly as possible. It was only a 5-minute ride. Tony Maseo was probably with us, or Lawton. Like that group was all together.
Yeah.
We threw him in the front seat. He got so squirrely, I pulled a knife out and held it right behind the headrest in case he pulled out a gun. I was like, fuck, I got it. But yeah,
Wow.
that was the only time I've ever been involved with picking up a stranger. And the whole time I'm thinking about stabbing him to death if he gets out of line because he was fucking mentally ill. He was like, he started saying crazy shit and everyone's like, what the fuck?
I have the same story for you, but in reverse. When I got into a car, I did get one time into a car, a nice big fancy car with whatever, and I was like 14 years old, and I was actually walking back from the gym, and I had a net bag over my shoulder with my boxing shoes and gloves and all that shit, and dude picked me up. He ran around the block. I noticed. He's like, "Hey, you need a lift?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, sure, whatever." And yeah, he started laying it on real heavy about hey man, hey, you want to see any of these books? It was like textbook, like some sort of groomer. This is something I didn't even think about until like years later when all this shit came out. But he had like, check it out, man. He had like Hustler magazines in the car, the whole bit, And I'm looking at it and he's like, hey, he started telling me a story about his visit to New York. Basically, he was trying to like get me into some sort of sexual mood. And at some point I was just like, okay, let me out of the car. And he said, come on, man, you don't want to hang out for a while. And I said, let me the fuck out. I think he knew I was like serious because I was gonna whack him. You know what I mean? I had my boxing gear. He had asked me, what are you doing? Whatever. I was boxing down there. But I got out and he left out. But only years after. Like that's just sort of shit happens. I wonder if it happens like the kids now, do they hold it in and never say anything? Because that was something that happened to me as a teen. It was a weird, sort of embarrassing, sort of odd situation that I never really thought about until way later. How many of these young kids now walking around out here? Who knows who the fuck is out there looking for them?
A lot. I think.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? It's crazy.
The number of people molested is significant, and it's going to rise as a result of
social media and all that. Yeah.
Well, more than that, pedophilia is now being pushed.
Oh yeah, it's being mainstream without question.
We're at a point in society where prisoners have better morals than general society has.
Yeah.
In terms of pedophilia, the people that are in jail for life have better morals.
Yeah, they have a better more. What do they call it? Yeah, an
Moral
ethical,
compass on that.
a
Yeah,
moral compass. Yes, thank you.
it's here. It's mainline, mainstreamed. In there, it's like, hey, it's still wrong. I'm like, yeah, fuck. Where are we going from society when prisoners on death row should be
Listen.
leading our moral compass?
I say this, Eric, if a child can consent to making permanent decisions about their health care, well, then they consent to anything. So we're at Sodom and Gomorrah now. So what, there is no age of consent for anything.
Also, if you don't control your body, which is what the vaccine mandates and everything, and if you don't have your child, what do you have? You certainly don't have your money, which is where we are with the banks. So we went from body with vaccines, and you don't control your body, or else you'll be fired or ostracized from society. Your body's no longer yours, to your children, which is what they've been targeting. And now they're going to the money, and it's a natural progression. So at the end of it, what do you own?
How long do we have, Beans?
Well, the plan, that the actual laid out plan is 2030, but I think 2025 is where shit gets hairy. But I think it might have accelerated, man. I mean, we've seen it. It's moving pretty dramatically. It's almost like, frog in hot water at this point. It's however long.
Can I tell you guys
No,
something
I'm
that's
saying, when do
gonna
we go
sound
to the
horrible?
mattresses? When do we go to the mattresses?
Well,
When do we go to the fucking
Well,
streets?
at that point, it's kind of too late. I mean, really, at this point, you should be thinking about, how you can have fresh water, how you can have food for your family. If the grid goes down, do you have cash on hands? Do you have food? Do you have the ability to have water for your family? Because when you go to the streets, at that point, they're choking you out. They've already shut down everything. You've got no money, you've got no water, you've got no food. What are you going to be able to do? And for how long? How long are you going to be able to sustain it? So the first thing is to survive that first wave, because quite frankly, it's
I think if we're on the right teams of people, we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta just have a plan, a community plan, a backup plan, and figure out what you're gonna do. Because right now at this point, you can't really trust, all the great intentions of your leaders. When they're out there.
It's gonna become a man's world again, and it's gonna become a harsh place again. And it's just history repeating itself, and
That's why
the cycle repeats.
You don't have to worry about the trans movement at the moment society collapses. Because if you were to let's say you take 100 like real men with real women and put them on an island, they'll make a society out of that. If you do the same with the people that are, right now with the snowflakes upset about this, that, or the other, maybe, some non-binaries, a couple people that are, pansexuals, throw them on an island, come back in a couple months, they're all dead.
We're
There's
extinct.
a great saying, man. I think it was by Chesterton, Eric. I think it might be from Chesterton. I'm not sure who said the quote, but what he said was, let the boys act as girls if they will, and let the girls act as boys if they will. This was like in 1800. He says, the good news is they won't last but a generation.
Well, the historical truth of that is that every time societies collapse, for some odd reason, there's one parallel. They become absolutely obsessed with gender, sex, and other things that don't matter.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
And
this is a disease of the wealthy. This is a disease of the privileged. All of us are.
The spoiled. Yeah. And at the point where things fall apart, you're not going to be worried about pronouns. You're like, oh shit, all my money's gone. The bank's gone. This is going on. War's going on. No shit. There was a real nuclear bomb. Excuse me. What are your pronouns, sir? You missed.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit.
Nobody's gonna give a fuck. So there is an absolute level of perfect privilege. Anybody who's worried about that inherently is so privileged, they've never had real hardship.
Exactly.
You just talked about us having an absurdity. That's their absurdity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man.
It is. It's our world's absurdity. But I mean, we're basically throwing it all in the trash. We've built this beautiful society. When I say we, all of us collectively as Americans, but now we're ripping each other apart. I mean, we're literally ripping each other apart. When we can't agree.
We're not ripping each other apart. We're systematically being ripped apart. So that
Right.
that's the part that I think
Well-
that part that you need to really understand. This has been done every single time systematically. Look at Ukraine and Russia. They're the same people in most cases. There always is going to be a way for the higher powers to divide people that are very similar, that even share the same language, to fight each other. And it doesn't matter what color they are, what sex they are, whatever, they will find a religious secular way to go, or a borderline that doesn't matter. It's very easy to divide human beings to fight each other. And in the United States, it's been systematically done in every possible way. So this is not a battle, but your friend right now that you're having the fallout with, you guys aren't having a fallout. You've been systematically divided and both you guys fell for it.
Well, I disagree on the sense that I really feel like this division, that the division you speak of right now has been ongoing. It's always been that way between the political parties. I believe that we are in a unique era. I mean, I think this is that we've
Nothing-
never been more divided than we are right now. We've never
Nothing-
been more divided.
Do
Like
you know how
the
many
idea that
have
you
said
don't
that
exist.
sentence? Do you know how many times that sentence has been said throughout history?
Well,
If
not in
it's-
my lifetime. If you want to bring up historical, then maybe you're
Really,
right. But
you
in my
haven't-
lifetime,
You
no.
haven't heard people say we've never been more divided than now. You didn't hear that during
Not
the
in my
Trump
life.
era? During the Trump
No.
era, you didn't hear that?
Well, that's part of the era we're
During
sitting
the
in right
Bush era-
now.
During the Bush era,
The
you
Trump
didn't-
era,
I've
we're
said
right
it
here.
myself.
do you-
I've
do
said
you-
it myself. I hear it
during
all the
the
time.
Bush era, during the Bush era, you didn't hear that? You didn't hear we were
Even
never
during the Bush era, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Not like it is now.
it's literally the same.
There's a hatred
exact-
now.
No, it was there, then. You don't remember the hatred for George Bush?
You're right, but you're talking about hating the individual, man. I'm talking about in the
No, no.
streets. There are
In the
people who
streets there were
want
hate.
the other dead.
Yeah, no, that hate
Like
was.
they,
Remember the Vietnam era? Remember all the hate for the soldiers coming home, and I mean, you don't remember the hate before that with in the fucking World War II. There was a period where everyone was together. The Japanese are in internment camps, separated. There's always it's been going on throughout history. At every era, it's always been, oh shit, we've never been more divided than right now. You know, I mean, it's never happened. No, it's systematic. If we're all
I hope you're
together-
right.
No,
I
it's
hope
not.
you're
Nope.
right. I hope this is part of the normal cycle of things and not a new
divide-
phenomenon. I hope you're right.
And conquer. Our job is to not be divided and not be conquered. So that way, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, you're a bigot, be like, look, I am a fucking bigot, but I love you. I am the most bigoted piece of shit. Come here and give me a hug. Slut. You old fucking slut. And let me tell you, I got a friend named Jimmy
Fucking
Lang.
windbag.
You old hag. I'm a bigot and you're an old single hag. Come here and give me a hug. God damn it. We love each other. Don't be divided.
Fucking old coos.
Yeah. How's your son? Where's the father? Come here and give me a hug. God damn it. I love you. Poor kid, poor bastard child you have. I love you very much. No, dead serious, but you can't be divided by that stuff. You gotta,
Well,
don't fall for it.
I'm
Don't
not
fall.
divided by it.
Well, you-
Listen, I'm
you're
very
falling
thankful
for
for being the
secular.
age that I am.
You're,
Like,
you're drawing
dude,
lines in the
we've-
sand everywhere. Stop drawing these fucking sand lines. They're gonna-
Nah, man.
these sand lines are all over the place. You need to blow them away.
Listen, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I'm just a small town boy, orphan boy for the most part.
Uptown boy, you're Billy. You're Billy Joel. You're uptown boy from
I made good
Pennsylvania.
to some degree or something.
Dude, you've
And
done.
I'm just along for the ride, bro. I'm along for the ride.
Dude, you've
Dude,
done.
I admire the shit out of you, man.
I do too.
No, I appreciate you, man. But yeah, it's not anything, I've had good help along the way and I'm happy to be where I'm at. It's weird to watch it all sort of collapse. But you're right, Eric. Like you talk about other people have said this. I always ask myself, isn't this what every old man says?
Yes.
Isn't it what every old man before us says?
Good
I do.
old-
I,
The good old days, all that
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. It's and by the
I
good
bet-
old.
I'll ask your opinion, both of you guys, man.
Yeah.
Like, I really do believe when I was coming of age in the 80s and 90s, race relations were better. They weren't like they are now. It was a whole different thing. Like, I'm not trying to like look back with nostalgia, but
No, I think that's
things have gotten
valid.
worse. I think they're
I
worse
think
now.
that's valid. When I was growing up, I didn't feel the constant pressure like I do, and I didn't see it in the news like you do now. I mean, it's such a
Right.
fucking everyday hot topic. It wasn't like that
Right.
growing up.
See, it's pushed way more now. It was not a hot topic, but out in the real world, I live in a mostly black neighborhood. I don't feel it at all. And I'm walking around with a big bald head. They all know me. I always say hi, talk to their families and stuff. Everybody's cool. Like if you go out and talk to your neighbors, nobody gives a fuck. It's just pushed in the news and the media, and it's not real. You know, and that's the difference between letting them divide us and just going out and being you. Now, there's some people that aren't going to be, maybe so receptive. Jimmy knows the story where I was shot with a paintball and had to put some people in check a little bit.
With a paintball. Oh,
Yeah. There was a story before you came on. I was assaulted with a paintball on the street and had to handle some business properly in a proper way that way.
you retaliated with a lead ball.
No. I would never do that. Let's just say that they came back. I invited them back. They came back, and then they decided it was not a good idea to come back, and they quickly made a good decision. But that's just kids. I mean, that's just kids being kids. They saw, a big white guy.
Well, that's kids being stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they weren't that stupid. They made a good decision that day.
If
And-
I'd have been armed at that moment and somebody shot me from behind with a paintball and I felt the blow, not knowing what it was, I might have,
It was
pulled
close.
out and opened fire on them. So this
It
is the
was-
kind of dangers
was
that
close.
these
Yeah.
kids need to know that.
Yeah, but it was close, but it wasn't that close. I mean, they hit me at, probably 14, 15 feet, which is pretty close for a paintball. Broke skin, hit the thing. And I was like, did I just get and it was one of those situations where like a fucking paintball. All right, let's come
Yeah,
back,
once you realize,
let's handle it. And then they actually turned around and came back. And I was like, oh, okay, we're getting ready to have a confrontation and talked them out of it. And, that was good. The kids weren't that dumb. So, but the bottom line
well,
is,
a death occurred because of a paintball thing recently up there at LeBron James School. I don't know if y'all remember that.
no,
LeBron
yeah.
James School. There was a young man. It became a little bit of a racial issue. It was a white kid. They were firing a paintball gun at the area where some guys were hanging out at, and
Christ,
they came out and they beat him to death. It was kind of a pretty big deal. He was like a upstanding young man. He was with his black friends. He was the only white guy. They drove by shooting the paintball gun, and when they came back around, the guys who were standing there came out in front of them, and they wound up beating him to death.
that's
Yeah, it's a
you do when you're a kid, man. You do dumb shit, but that's not a
Stupid
racial.
shit.
I didn't get shot and go, oh my God, these kids are shooting me because I'm a white man. It was just a thing that happened. And if you go out in your community and you talk to people, everybody's cool for the most part. It's
Well,
just
I'm going to tell you the issue in this case was that if you look this story up, you'll see it at some point. The issue was that it was declared self-defense, that they basically stomped his skull to the ground.
because he had a paintball gun.
He brandished a paintball gun, but he never actually hit them with it or anything. He just sort of like drove around the block with his friends. And so when he came around, they said, listen, this was considered self-defense. People balk at that, and they're saying that if the
Good
racial
argument.
roles
No,
were reversed,
Good argument.
this
Good
would be
I mean, that's an argument every lawyer would
it would
make.
be a heinous hate crime. But in this case, they stumped them out because he
If you have a
threatened them.
barrel, that you're pointing and you end up accidentally killing somebody as a result of them using that barrel and pointing it and shooting, what paintballs are not, your lawyer is going to make the argument that you did not know it was a non-lethal. And by the way, paintball I've almost had my eye shot out by them. If you get hit in the wrong place on them, who the
Bro,
fuck knows what'll happen to you.
I took a bunch of my kids and their friends to a paintball.
They're
We spent the
dangerous.
day out there. I
Fucking
got clipped on my inner thigh. One of them motherfuckers hit me like
Right
an
on the
inch from my balls, but right on the inner thigh, bro. I
Right on
had a
the nerve,
fucking black,
nerve.
I had a black spot as big as a softball on my inner thigh for fucking practically a year before that thing went down. I mean, that fucker hurt.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say you're in deadly danger, but technically the taser, the police taser is considered deadly force in a lot of states. You know, a taser is.
Oh shit! We need another show. I'll tell you by the time I got tased 3 times by the Fairfax County PD right out in the middle of this fucking street where I'm standing.
Oh,
where I'm
shit.
sitting.
We'll add that to the next.
Oh, I went off on them motherfuckers. Yeah, they just took me down.
I'm
definitely.
surprised this hasn't come up.
I'm adding it to the
Oh
list.
shit!
We've been
My
on-
wife is gonna shit her pants. She don't want to hear about it.
Well,
It was a bad night. It was a bad night.
with tased, she would shit her pants because the tase does let things go a little wild.
No, man, he hit me twice, and I fucking came at him with a fucking right, and they really, yeah, they put my face in the ground real hard.
Now, did your wife witness this happening?
Yeah, she was standing there screaming.
Yeah, well, she's not a
Or
good
she was screaming, "Don't shoot him! Don't shoot him! He wants you to shoot him!" All that bullshit.
She wasn't screaming that. You didn't really get tased.
No, she was actually screaming, but it's very half-hearted though.
You
I
people
reminded her
really
a
don't.
years
Why
later.
you lying,
I reminded her it was
Sandra?
very
Just
half-hearted.
lying about your story and just making
Fucking
shit up.
liar.
Your
I'm not
wife's
bullshitting you.
not, your wife's just bullshit. She was under a lot of stress. You guys probably just both witnessed tasers independently as a result of
No.
being under a lot of stress from a police officer.
No, no, he whacked me. I'll tell you what, the third hit, he hit me on the neck, but the first one hit me in the chest. And then I marched towards him, and then he was fucking with it. He gave me a jolt, and when I turned, another second officer shot me in the buttock, right in my ass cheek. And when he did, he made my leg fall out from under me.
How many drinks had you had that night?
I was drinking, yes.
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
going to deny that. I can't give you I'm not going to put a number on it, but
Probably.
listen, I can tell you that every bad night I ever had in my life, drinking was involved.
I have two choices here. Either I believe, either I believe your story, or I think, maybe he was just drinking and hallucinating.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know. Yeah. I was
Maybe he wasn't shot
Listen.
in the back in the butt, or
Bro,
He's
we-
coming back,
listen.
Sandro. He's coming back. You
I
better
got
do
listen. I
something.
got thrown.
your wife saw it, but maybe she's also a little bit, maybe your eyes
Listen.
couldn't see for
I
one.
got thrown in jail. All right, and I spent a couple days fucking face down in a fucking cell. I got released out, and for at least a week, maybe more, I was so fucking embittered. I was like, the way them cops treated me, I was still fired up. And then obviously now I look back, yes, I was drunk, I was belligerent, I was a piece of shit. I deserve what I got, and I'm thankful that they didn't shoot me. And when I went to court, my lawyer did say, listen, don't ever fuck with these people again, because the next time they come to your house, they will shoot you.
This is a very elaborate timeline, Jimmy, that he's telling. A lot of stories going on here, Sandro.
Hey, Sandro,
Right,
way to
bro.
wait till I'm hungry as shit and want to get off
Yeah,
this fucking show
right.
to start that.
We gotta go. Yeah, right.
Well,
We have a lot. We're gonna actually have you retell it, where I don't have to be a smartass. But
Hey,
imagine
let's watch the chair. Watch the chair dismount.
it's very. But you gotta. It's very easy. I realize it's because this is a recliner. Easy as shit to pull into the desk. Pushing off is a fucking bitch. It's like a smooth floor. So I got to push back and it rocks. So it naturally just
Big Papa.
goes back. This is the rocking chair. So
Big
I'm
Papa.
pulling up and has.
listen, man.
It's a
This
bitch.
is the
I sat here earlier laughing because I'm like fucking easy as fuck to pull myself.
listen, bro.
in.
Body positivity.
I
Like a
peed.
fat boy in a snowstorm, baby.
I peed right before it. I was like, I don't want to hear shit about getting out of the fucking chair. And I pulled myself right in easy. And I was like, you know what? Let me push myself back in case I have to get up and pee. Push. I was like, fuck, it's difficult to get this thing back. Physically, it's a bitch to get it back. And that was before I'd had a sip of alcohol. I'm like, that fucking skinny fuck needs to come sit here. I'd like to watch his little scrawny ass get his ass out of this fucking chair.
Bullshit, man. I move like a breeze.
No chance. You're ass would be stuck under here just like me going, God
You
damn
look
it.
like a fucking beach whale getting out of that chair.
Listen, I love
I used to move like a jungle cat. Now I move like a gazelle,
you've
just
lost
freshly born,
Jimmy lost 50 pounds and now he's feeling
staggering
himself.
around.
You know what you need to do with your
Can't
new-
tell me nothing, baby. Can't tell me nothing.
go to a black church and use some of those fucking new 50 skinny face skills. Go to that black church with your mom this week.
Like
Report
I'm wearing a tank top.
Yeah, go just like that with a gold chain.
We used to call that a wife beater back in the day.
Yeah,
I
man.
can't call it that no more. Now it's a guinea tea.
No,
No, I called it a guinea tea too. Guinea tea came before wife beater. Now you can't call it that.
set those expectations low. Just have the gold cross when you open it up. Say, you know what this is? They'll go, that's a wife beater. Go, no, it's a gold cross, bitch. What's wrong with you?
Fuck you thinking?
Is that what you're looking for? Is this why you don't have a man? You like to go have some coffee with me? You know, my name-
Where's the confessional booth?
we'll have some fun. God damn it! Why do I have to give you the best pickup lines on this show? You get out there to that black church, have some fun, gentlemen. I appreciate you, Sandro. Don't get arrested.
Love you,
Nope.
love you, fellas.
No,
All the cows that are out there, I'm glad you're safe. Have a
I'm
good
all
night.
the way. I'm safe.
All right, bye-bye.
Love you.